fluency increased tremendously just in a three-week experience. But she had established a relationship with a community that she was able to continue to explore through WhatsApp. So she could call at any time, they could call her. So this is just one of the many ways in which foreign language experience can lead to a study abroad experience, can lead to an ongoing education experience for you. Now, the other thing that our panel is going to do today, in addition to talking about their study abroad experience, is to examine ways in which we can create excitement among our student body about foreign language study, engaging with the international community on our campus, and of course, studying abroad. Now, there's one example that I'd like to bring up of a university, and I'm not going to name the name, but it's within 500 miles of our campus. A university that does not require foreign language study at all. It's a school that is primarily focused on engineering and the sciences, doesn't have a foreign language requirement. 85% of their student body, on average, elects to study a foreign language. And of those who elect to study a foreign language, on average, they take 18 credit hours. Now, you might scratch your head and ask, well, why would a school that focuses on engineering, sciences, that sort of thing, why would that student body be so interested in foreign language study? And I might add, for study abroad experience, because of the personal enrichment, that's one thing, but also looking at jobs, careers. That experience can be can lead to better job security, higher pay, and just a little added excitement in your workplace. I'll stop with one additional example. And there's a young lady, another young lady who was graduating with a degree in accounting from Southern, and decided that she wanted to work for Exxon. She came up to me one day and said, "I'm so excited! I have an interview with Exxon, and for an accounting position. I'm so excited about it." So the next week she comes up to me and I said, "Well, how did the interview go?" She said, "Oh, it was fabulous. I got the job." And she said, "But there's something that happened that I would never have imagined." And I asked, "Well, what exactly was that? Was it a good experience?" She said, "Absolutely." She said, "In the middle of the interview, this individual walks in and says, 'Bonjour, je m'appelle Monsieur Smith, et vous, madame, comment vous appelez-vous?' And he started just a very simple conversation in French. And he later told her, "We did this because we saw that you had 3 semesters of French in your undergraduate career, and we were interested in looking for an accountant who had foreign language experience." And I'll end with this. That young lady got the job, and I can guarantee you that she's paid more than any other accountant at starting position who doesn't have foreign language experience, and also has better job security for it. So with that, I'd like to turn to our panel, and the way in which I propose we proceed is that you can each introduce yourselves to the camera, and then we can give a 5-minute statement, up to 5-minute statement on anything that you feel is targeted at internationalizing our campus. How can we do that? And then we'll follow with the general discussion. So please take it away. If we can start on the left with Dr. Kandara, introduction.
My name is Mehtab Kandara. I have been teaching Turkish for the past 5 years at Southern University. We are offering it as a foreign language, so any student who takes Turkish will be fulfilling their language requirements. We also have a study abroad program. We have done it virtual the past 2 years, but summer they're looking forward to doing it first. And I am a Southern alumni.
Thank you, Dr. Kandara. Yes.
I'm Latasha Valentina. I teach Spanish at Southern, and I also teach Spanish and French at LSU. I did the study abroad programs through Southern during undergrad, and I'm currently working on my PhD in anthropology, and I'm like,
Hi, I'm Kenda Andrews. I am so honored to be on this panel amongst such learned scholars. I am a social media blogger. I am a mother of 6, and I like to say I grew up on this campus. I went to Southern University, the Southern University. I went to Southern Lab in middle school, fell in love with my husband here, and we have 6 kids that are now at a school that we started. It is an international school. I was definitely inspired by my study abroad program that I did here. I went to Senegal for 3 weeks, ended up dreaming in French, and just hope that I can share some insight that would inspire others to do the same.
Morning, everyone. I am Dr. Claudia Martinez. I'm an assistant professor of Spanish here at Southern. I've been in here since the fall 2019. I am originally from Honduras. Do you want me to say something else? Has the 5 minutes started or?
We can get started with that, yeah.
Well, I'm originally from Honduras. I came here about 25 years ago. I came I earned a music scholarship. I play violin. But when I arrived to this country, I was really excited. Of course, I was really excited that I was coming to study. But when I arrived here, I did not know any English. So I was placed in a English language institute with scholarship covered that for 8 months. And then started college. At first, it was excited, but sometimes, it was very scary, very frightening, and most of all, it was very challenging. Because I wasn't aware, I didn't know, I had no idea what it was like to be away from home for the first time, and also be in a place where I was not able to communicate freely because I didn't have the language skills. So it was very challenging experience, as I said, but I was able to endure the process because I knew that this experience was one in a lifetime opportunity for me. And I was able to do that and thinking that it was, something that would impact not only me, but my family. I was the first one to earn a university degree in my family. So my brothers followed after that. So, and all my brothers are here now studying, some are working. So study abroad was a door that opened for me to be able to be successful. And that's what the panel is about today, to prepare students to be to succeed globally. And I would say to prepare students to be global professionals. So for me, the study abroad was an opportunity to broaden my perspectives of the world. And there's a plethora of benefits that study abroad brings, and I'm sure some of you will share some of those. But for me, in addition to enhancing my language skills, I'll also, get a global perspective. I changed my the perspective of the world. I earned, so much through study abroad, through being in another country. I connect with people from all over the place, another world. I actually step out of my comfort zone, and because my close environment, my just enclosed circle. And I started, making connections, with other international professionals and stuff. That's why I'm here. It got me to here. So I believe that study abroad is one of the ways that we can help students, so we can prepare students to become, those, as I said, global professionals, and to make them to raise that awareness that we are not alone with not just our circle, there are people out there just around the corner that are from other places, from the other part of the world, And I can just give you an example. I was at the museum the other day with my son, and I heard people talking in Italian. I go to Walmart and I hear people talking in Arabic. I go to, a certain place and people are talking in French. So we have people here just around the corner, that are from all over the world. And we have to, help the students to awaken and, to help that raise that awareness, as I said before. On Saturday, we just had our preview event or our showcase event here at Southern. And we had a table, a foreign language table, and some students, approach, ask questions about study abroad. They were really interested. Some, were asking about the minor in Spanish or minor in other languages. And, there were a few that would say, I'm not interested, because I would offer them a brochure. And I started thinking, oh my God, we have to make this, we'll have to find a way to make the students know that this is, so beneficial for them. It will bring them, it will lighten the world, enlighten their world, because, they need to know that learning a foreign language, takes them places that they could never imagine. I wouldn't be here. I got skills that I wouldn't have learned if I had stayed at home. So I think that students, we can, and you would say that it's easy for me because I teach foreign language, but I think that we all can do it, whether you are professor of math or, psychology or sociology, or, whether you are at a desk as an advisor, you can encourage students to pursue opportunities to raise that awareness. So I think that, and I can talk about, have some ideas on how we can all together do that. But I think I will go over my 5 minutes. So, but yeah, that was my experience it has been my experience as a foreign language instructor and as a foreign language student as well.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Martinez, and we look forward to hearing more about some of your very successful efforts in getting students studying abroad and interested in studying abroad. I think we have a group of students, 5 or 6, right, who are looking for a study abroad experience next summer. And I know you're going to succeed at that. Ms. Andrew.
Well, I did my study abroad, like I mentioned, in Senegal. I was on Goree Island, and I too had that experience with a host family. For me, I still communicate with those people from 2009, like my cousins. I mean, we keep up with WhatsApp, social media. It's made the world so much bigger, but also so much smaller. It's so easy to keep in touch with them. I think for me, the experience was really cathartic because as a Black woman in America, I never really could say, this is where I'm from. I just knew somewhere in this area, But whenever I learned more about the study abroad in Senegal, I learned that about 70% of the Black people in Louisiana can trace their roots to Senegal. So when I was there and when I got off of the plane, when I heard, local people saying to me, welcome home, sister. I never knew, the experience was like, I felt whole for the first time. I felt like this is where I'm from. The languages we were able to study, we were at the University Sheikh Anta Diop. I'm pretty sure we got credit hours for French and for maybe community service. I mean, we did so much in that 3-week span. The family and I, we connected. The food, the communal eating, that's the style, right? The first day we're there, I will never forget. This man that I'd never met picked up, it was like a couscous in his hand and handed it to me to eat it. And I'm not one to offend people. So I eat it from his hand, never met him, but from that moment on, I'm like, okay, we family now, I've eaten out of your hand. So that just showed me something that was so different from my experience here, in Louisiana, because everyone there was like family. and no one was a stranger, you share community. I mean, it was a wonderful experience. It really showed me that I want my children to have that. I have not gained fluency in any other language, but I've learned, the language of the heart, if you will, and that everyone is the same when you really strip it all down. We're all people and we generally want the same thing. And so seeing how alike I was to people that were so far away and in such a different land, it just humanized everyone for me. It let me realize that we're the human race. And so since then, my mission has been to give my children that opportunity and to just keep talking about it.
Your children are also many, many other children. I'm sure you'll talk about. Through the,
Yeah,
yes,
oh yeah, I got a lot of babies.
Talk about. Yes, soon to be Dr. Valenzuela.
I started my first study abroad experience in high school, and we went on a 2-week trip because my best friend convinced me to go. And after that, I started at Southern, and at Southern, I took Dr. Jackson Carter's class. And one of the requirements of her class one time was to do an application for Codaville. And so we did the application, and I received the scholarship. And so I was able to study abroad in Belgium for 3 weeks. And we went to university, we stayed in a residence hall, we studied French with other people, we were able to kind of go around and do things. I came back home, I was really excited still, and I told Dr. Jackson I wanted to go again. And so the second time I did a study abroad program where I was an English assistant, where I taught English as a second language in France. So I went for about 9-10 months, and I went and did that. When I came back, my fluency was at a whole other level. And I learned a lot. That time I actually traveled by myself. I didn't meet other teachers while I was there, and I learned, about the culture a lot. I met other people, other students who were teaching Spanish on the same program, but different languages, and they were from different places. And then when I came back here, I finished my undergraduate at Southern with French. And before I finished my undergrad in French, I started taking Spanish classes. And during my Spanish class to Dr. Anderson, he would always talk about the trips that he did where he would go to Mexico and stay with a host family, and then you do service learning. And so I was like, oh, I want to do that too. And so I ended up doing that program as well. So I did almost 3 programs during my undergrad at Southern before I graduated. And I didn't think I would use Spanish in the way that I'm using it now, where I teach more Spanish classes than I teach French classes. But I've been a French teacher for more years than I've been a Spanish teacher. And so I like that opportunity that is given me. And I tell Dr. Anderson and Dr. Jackson Carter how grateful I am for them all the time. And I use my experiences from traveling abroad and studying abroad and meeting different people now to tell my students that it's just more than what's in the book, and how I show them pictures and I tell them my experiences and things that happened to me and things that I don't want them to do, and things that they could do and things that they might want to avoid, so they can know what to do. And I think recently I had a class last semester before last with advanced Spanish and grammar. And one of the students and I were just talking after the Zoom, the class had finished. And she's like, I really want to go study abroad. I said, do you really want to go? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I think they had something coming up. Let me check my email and email this guy because he's my professor. He said something about it recently. And so one thing led to another, and she ended up being able to go study in Argentina this summer that just passed. And she loves talking about her experience all the time. And so I like that. And I think that one of the ways that we can encourage more students to go is to do like kind of we do it now. You have your school, she's in the classroom with me, I'm in the classroom, I know Dr. Pandara doesn't. But like just to keep telling them about our experiences, making it human and sociable where they can understand, and keep promoting like, well, so-and-so went here. Have you thought about doing this to understand we need to get out? And it does go back to like going back to who we are as a people and understand. My dissertation deals so much with understanding Louisiana history. And we need to understand how Louisiana came to be with all the different races, all the different ethnicities came together. And we just kind of all mixed up. And that's not the best terms to put it, but that's kind of what happened. And once we can understand that we have so many different cultures within our community, within our families already here, that we can appreciate and see more comparison similarities in other places. I tell my students all the time about po' boys and French sandwiches being the same thing. And how we have king cake, they also have king cake, and they have these kind of celebrations, so do we. I said, some things I didn't even miss from home because it was exactly the same. The taste may be a little different, but everything else lined exactly up. I said, it makes you rethink why we do some of the things that we do, and we don't realize this is, there's this strong connection that still exists. And that it gives us not just the opportunity to like be better people, have economic opportunities, but how can I help somebody else? Just as she said, you go anywhere, somebody speaks something. I can't tell you the number of times I've had to jump in for someone and translate or interpret something to help them. Why can't we spend more time trying to help people who are here that need help? It's just all about, I feel like it's all about helping people first and then everything else after that. And I want to be someone that helps other people where they need help.
It's beautiful.
Oh my God.
I can say you do.
I try.
I see. Yes, Dr. Gonzalez.
I guess my journey began similar to Dr. Martinez. I came here as an undergraduate student. I studied at LSI. That's where my bachelor's and master's from. The first time you go to a country is really mind-opening. I mean, was different from Dr. Martinez. My English was perfect. I know all the grammar, everything. I took the test, I passed it, so I just jumped into the classroom. But speaking and interacting with others and what is in the book and what people actually do are different things. So you learn to communicate like a local. So the first month they were like, oh, okay, when did you come? It was very obvious, but after a year or two, people are like, oh, so you're like, you know, oh, they even thought if I travel, they ask me, are you from southern part of United States? Because we are picking on that, but it's like y'all. But it's different. So what that gave me the perspective is, I think I still enjoy it. Everybody needs to get out of their comfort zone from their cities and go abroad and meet with other people. The first thing is gonna be we're all human beings. The skin color, the religion, how to live your life, your choices, that's yours. That doesn't prevent you from interacting with others, learning from one another. So it's the world, you will lose the borders in the world. I think that was the best thing that I learned. And you look at your own culture, your own country, where you're coming from a different perspective. Think about looking at this classroom from this point of view, what I see. It is different than when somebody by the door is gonna see. It's the same room, but you're looking from a different angle. So you actually get to appreciate what you have more. And also you get to appreciate what other people have. Because the only thing that I knew about United States was from the movies, from media, I didn't have social media like that. But still, it was somebody else was telling me what United States was. But once I was in the mix, I'm like, I'm experiencing this as a first. And as my own experience. This is how I see it, how I do it. So you bring your own culture into it as well, it enriches you. So that's why it's very important. Everybody should get out of their comfort zone, go to a country. It doesn't matter, you don't even need to study the language. Just go meet up with people. A lot of people speak English. Even with that, you learn about it. The hospitality that they're gonna show you. People are so warm. We assume that they're from a different culture, they're not gonna be opening their doors. They open their doors to their hearts. They welcome you with open arms, with that, how did I get into the mixture of teaching Turkish? I mean, I didn't even go to college in Turkey, so me ending up teaching Turkish as a foreign language actually was an opportunity in itself. um, for me to give back to Southern and also give back to my country, my roots. So about 5 years ago, the university, Dr. Carpenter's office initiated talks about offering a critical language at Southern University. I think that's what I would like to, it might be more than my 5 minutes, but
Oh,
I
no,
would like to go ahead and
conversation.
critical languages program. Now, the State Department identified about 15 languages as critical language. These languages, the demand for that is more than the supply. So less people are proficient in these languages. And I'm talking about Department of State, Department of Defense. This is not just about the defense of the country. This is not just about the, stopping terrorism, those kind of initiatives. It's about talking about money, economics, because we don't have borders anymore, especially after COVID-19. We have seen that we carry business online now. So the meetings are online. I can be sitting here, but doing business for a company in Turkey without any problems. So that the COVID has given us different experiences and different opportunities. So these 15 languages are listed as Azerbaijani, Slovak, Turkish, Bengali, Hindi, Indonesian, Persian, Punjabi, Swahili, Turkish, Urdu, Arabic, Korean, Portuguese, Russian, Chinese, and Japanese. Now, I'm very pleased to say that currently we are offering 3 of these critical languages, about to offer the 4th one, right? The first one is Turkish, the second is Swahili and Arabic, and we are in the works of getting Japanese offered as a critical language at Southern campus. As part of the critical languages program, they were looking for someone to teach the class. We were going to bring somebody from Turkey, and visa issues and stuff. I ended up kind of volunteering for the thing, and I think to be doing a decent job. They don't want to let go of me, so I actually enjoy teaching as well. I love interacting with students. I've been in education. I was a principal before. I volunteered to teach in a high school. So I mean, I love teaching. So I love the connection with students and letting them know my country, my background, my religion through my eyes, not from somebody else. And also I get to know them in person. So for the past 2 years, as the critical languages program on campus grew, we said this was just before COVID started. We were talking about, hey, why not start the study of a program in Turkey? Because that's going to be the next step. But then COVID happened. So that summer we couldn't do anything. And we're sitting in a meeting and Dr. Carpenter and we're talking about it. And we were like, maybe we could offer the virtual, why not? And we did. And I think that was a very unique opportunity and success of Southern University. I don't know how many other schools offered study abroad during COVID time. So I think that that was a good initiative. And so we've been doing it for the past 2 years virtually. So basically, and my husband is a team leader in Turkey we spent summertime in Turkey anyway. So further for 3 weeks of it was a sort of a program. We took them to different cities in Turkey, like major cities, Istanbul, Bursa, Cappadocia, and they were learning Turkish at the same time, and they were also learning about the Turkish culture. They visited amazing places, and all of them at the end of the program, we want to go and see first. So this was a great opportunity for the students. I learned a lot because of them, because I wanted to show my country, my background from my eyes, my perspective. And so it was also personal because you're also opening the doors of your home as well. So I'm sitting here having a Zoom meeting at 5 p.m. in Turkey, and it is 9 a.m. over here. So the time differences, we were interacting with the students, they would send messages at 2 a.m. and I'm responding them at that time because that was that kind of a program. But I really enjoyed it. So actually, it was going to be one of my students, my best student of the program, Officer Willie Brooks, but he had an emergency, he could not attend. So I am filling in for him I wish that he was here because what he got out, I cannot express because he is the person who experienced everything. But this year we are looking forward to doing it in person. We would like to take our students to here for that 3 week of period. And they will become immersed into the culture. They will get to know Turkish culture, and also they will be interacting with the locals, students, and they will also be involved in community service over there as well. I think that's more than my 5 minutes.
No, that's-
But if once again,
That was a good contribution, thank you. So you did the virtual study abroad last year. This year, you're looking to take some students to
in
take
person,
in
we
person.
did the virtual
Yeah.
study abroad was done 2 years in a row.
Yes.
Virtually. But now that we're at the point of actually taking our students, and actually I think I can make the announcement kind of, we had the Turkish Airlines visiting us yesterday. And after my husband, Dr. Kandara, talking with them more, they are considering to give like 15% off on the prices to the our southern faculty and southern students. So we'll see that they will be coming back to campus. So that will also cut down the cost for the study abroad program.
That's a great gift. Yeah, that's a great gift. So the conversation can go on. Could you talk about how your experience studying abroad is impacting your life today? How does that change how you operate in the world?
Well, for me, the way my eyes were open through that study abroad, I know I brought it back home. I tried to keep up the French that I'd picked up with anyone that would talk to me. And, I knew when I became a mother that was something I wanted to instill in them. So I put my children at the international school here. And unfortunately, it closed last May. And when that happened, I said, I'm not going out without a fight. So I was able to rouse a couple of energized parents together, and we started an international school here. We are the only multi-immersion international school for 6-week-old until 5th grade here in Baton Rouge. Now there's schools where you can go and like learn Spanish or French or Chinese, but not where you can do all three. So we have that going. We opened this August. It's challenging. Let me tell you, my background is not education. I'm not a teacher or principal, any of that. So I just kind of fell into this, but life, the journey that you're on, it shows you where you're supposed to go, and it takes you to things that are meant for you. And I have just found a passion watching all these kids. I had 6 kids, and now I have 60 kids, if you want to say. But seeing them learn, seeing the babies, seeing a 1-year-old counting, to 5 in Spanish, and she's not even doing it in English yet, was just like, wow, we're doing something. We're touching people. We're proving to people what we can do also, because so many people said, it's for moms. Y'all will never be able to do this. And in 3 months, we opened a fully functional multi-immersion school. And so with that said, the process of study abroad took me from that, that 20-something girl in Senegal to the 30-something woman I am now, that, the board member and the social media and the HR of a international school here in Baton Rouge. So, it can take you pretty far.
That's a fantastic story. So from that experience you had in Senegal, right?
Yeah.
All of this blossomed up.
All of this
And
came
you're
from that.
offering foreign languages, Chinese, Spanish, French, and not just your kids, but 60 others as well.
And we're growing. We got 6 more starting in January. Just trying to keep the momentum. I think a lot of people needed to see this was like our test year. A lot of people were hesitant. They were like, "Are y'all going to be here next month?" But we're here, and we're continuing to be here, and we're learning. I'm learning so much about grants. Oh my God! Anybody want to write a grant for us? I'm learning. The stuff like the things that my dad and you and Dr. Carpenter and so many people I watched and always admired, I learned now, like, wow, you're really doing something if you were keeping education alive like this on this level, it's a lot of work because I'm doing it at an elementary school and I'm like, I can't even imagine like in higher education, how the dedication, it has given me so much more respect for people who do it.
Well, one of the things that, just one of the things I was thinking we might discuss is how do we get our student body excited about learning foreign language, engaging with the international student body on our campus, studying abroad, virtually or in person? What are some of the things from your experience that you've recommended?
Well, you know, I think that you have to meet people where they are. And I am a full-time content creator. My world is digital. I'm on social media. Like I'm blowing up right now and I'm trying not to look at my phone because it's hard to put it down. But I think finding the things that young people are into, you know, TikTok, Instagram, Reels, you know, and the entertainment side of it, the joking side of it, the double entendre, the funny things, all of that, I think it's engaging and I think they're learning about it and they're being inspired and they're also being entertained, you know, with edutainment and they don't even realize it. So that, I think that's a good way to plant that seed.
I was gonna say, I think there need to be more people of color speaking foreign languages, using foreign languages, and if they see more of themselves and other people, and that voice starts to be filled, that they will become more encouraged to study foreign languages. Because they don't just have Black African Americans speaking French or Spanish or any other language. We also have Afro Latinos and African French speakers and everything, and we spend so much time doing the Eurocentrism that we miss the Afrocentrism. And I feel like if they can see more culture and more of us and what they do and feel that connection they mentioned earlier here with other people, that would help make that push. It has to be real for them and they have to feel the connection.
One thing I would say to piggyback on that is, I know in Black America, well, just in America in general, you know, speak English. Like you come here, you need to speak American. And nowhere else in the world is like that. And we will be left behind if we don't realize that, you know? So like when I see a beautiful Black woman that's speaking French and Spanish, and I'm like, my mind is blown. And when I think about my little daughter speaking Chinese, I'm like, that's the way to show the world POC and different people and different ethnic backgrounds doing something that people don't expect. It gives you that cutting edge. So, I mean, I think we have to show people that, and they need to realize that the world is more than just what we have here, and that if you can't, you know, speak those languages, you can't compete on that global level.
Yes.
It's also helping them become aware of the benefit of being bilingual. What I do, you know, you would say it's easier for me because I'm, you know, I teach foreign language. But, you know, in my classrooms, you know, it's very common to see, you know, to find students that come with one mentality. Okay, this is just an elective class, you know, as long as I pass with a D, you know, I'm fine, you know, it's not a core course. So what I tell them is, you know, this is a language course. What is language? And I was like, communicating, okay, so if you're here, you know, I really, you know, would like you to get something out of it. You know, you might as well learn it. You know, so at the beginning, you know, they are kind of okay, you know, but then as the semester moves, and you know, we are at the end of the semester now, and I see a lot of students that they don't know anything about Spanish. You know, some of them come with a little background, some of them have zero Spanish, zero languages, and you know, I've been seeing students answering questions in Spanish, understanding what I'm saying in Spanish, answering me back, you know, writing paragraphs. And I said, you know, if you understood what I'm saying and you were able to write this paragraph, you know, they have a little bit, you know, minor details to, you know, be corrected, but you know, you should be proud of yourself. You should be proud of yourself because you are the first stages of being bilingual. You should be proud of yourself because you're communicating in a foreign language. And they look at me like, you know, like, you know, nobody can. I said, yeah, because that's the benefit of being bilingual. You should be, you know, no, I am proud of yourself because I know you're making the effort. I know you're trying. And, you know, the other day, because, and the I think that the mentality also has to change in some of the administrators or some of the advisors, because mentality, oh, it's fine, I don't know, it's like, and the thing is that they probably think, for some majors, yeah, they may benefit from learning a foreign language like politics, political science, or, business, yeah, they should learn a second language. But what about sociology or ecology? And then, I can tell you a story which happened to me last week with a student. At the end of the class, I approached her and I said, I asked her, have you considered, minor in Spanish? She looked at me like, hey, I've seen that you have developed, some skills, and I think you have potential. Or, just if you want to start with just being part of the Spanish club. Like, oh, and he was very hesitant, and she said, I don't know what I would do with a Spanish minor in sociology. And I asked her, I started asking her, so where would you like to work? What would you like to do with your money? She said, well, I want to be a counselor in a public school. That was a lightning moment for me. And I think it's like, wow, how many, how large is the population of Hispanic, kids in a public school? She said, wow. But yeah, so this is the advantage of having learned, or learning Spanish, or you can directly communicate with them. You wouldn't need to have a translator. You have a direct connection with their parents. And she said, oh, I never saw it that way. And then she said, Professor, I always wanted to be bilingual. And that was just so touching to me. Like, oh my God, I made a connection with that. And you said that you have to go to, meet them where they are. Because, this student said, I wanted to be bilingual. And she also said, I wanted to minor in something, but I was just thinking about, I don't know what. And then she said, oh, and I gave her the form. They had to fill out a form to declare the minor. And I was like, okay, so here's the form. And I do it. And, that is just, that's where, I think that all of us, not just, Spanish instructors, but, advisors should say, have you considered minor in Spanish? We should have them say that. We should have them, because, these are the benefits. Where do we want to work? Then tell them what are the benefits of being bilingual or having learned, learn another language. And I said, I told her too, you could travel abroad. Right? And she opened her eyes. Like, really? Yeah, there are opportunities out there. And we have the resources, like you said, we can do virtual internships, to start them, or we can do, virtual study abroad. And then, and I think that it's just a matter of changing the mindset around of all of us, not just the administrators, advisors, because students, I ask students, would you like to become a minor? And say, well, I have to ask my advisor. So, advisors have power. So, and talking about how, you said that, you open your mind and it helped you see the world, it helped me see the world from another perspective. I was and this is an example of my son. My son is bilingual, we only speak Spanish at home and he speaks English. I was concerned at first because, what you said, oh, you're here in America, you have to speak English.
Right.
So I was concerned because since he was born, he had nannies that spoke Spanish, so the first language was Spanish. So I was concerned that at school he was going to have some issues, but he's fine. He's doing fine. And I had a meeting with his teacher, and the one thing that she says, like, what amazed me about Elijah, that's my son, Elijah. It's like that he sees the world in a different perspective.
What it does.
I'm like, really? Yeah, he's different from other kids. When I ask him questions, he goes, and I realize, and I tell him, Elijah, I've never seen it that way. I never thought of that. And then I'm just realizing because he probably has the two cultures, in him. So, and that's, that's what our students can have. Like you said, different perspectives, different views. just one single mindset, and I think that it should be a teamwork, from all of us, and encourage your students. Again, encourage students to pursue. I think fostering also being very intentional. I know we have community service in our campus, but students are required to do community service. I think we should be more intentional so they can have that cross-cultural experience. There are find places where they have cross-cultural experience. So they find out, they see, oh, I'm not the only one here. There are people from all over the world. So just a few months ago, I took some of the Spanish minors to assist with ESL instructors in our local church. So doing that, being more intentional. I think that being more intentional, that takes teamwork, that takes talking to advisors, that takes, talking to administrators, like, why don't you encourage your students to take foreign language seriously? Because, the mindset that they bring to the classroom is very, to me, it's poor, because, they don't see the benefit. They don't see the benefit.
Yeah, I know a lot of kids see it like it's just something I gotta accomplish
Yeah.
to graduate, but you don't realize you could be, letting go of something. Like what you said, that student that you convinced to minor, you positively could have, put her on a completely different path, changed the trajectory of her life to be a better person in a better place. You did that, so that's amazing. And like Elijah sees the world differently, I think about all of the stuff my kids will be able to experience, like art, movies, music. Like you only know the things in your language. Think about how much stuff exists in another language or in another culture that you don't even know about. Like we've recently at our school been, doing the holidays are upon us. So we've been wanting to do different holidays. So, we did Diwali, and I'm like, I went my whole life, I didn't even know that existed, like our holy or all these different things. And I'm like, I just want to do it all and know it all. And I want everybody to know about it. So that is great that Elijah's already, thinking differently because of that.
Yeah, I never thought of that, but she said, no, he sees, he solves things in a different way. So he sees the world in a different way. I don't know why, but I think I know why.
Well, we talked about how to turn the lights on for our students, because it is very much part of our job to communicate to them the value of foreign language study in terms of their work experience, their personal lives, etc. But one of the things I find, and I see if you agree with me on this or not, but I find that oftentimes even faculty in much areas other than the outside of the humanities, sometimes have a hard time making the connection, the value between what their students are learning and the foreign language skills. So how do we get across to the broad community? Because I think if we want to truly internationalize and have a much larger percentage of our population taking foreign language seriously, engaging with international student body on campus, studying abroad, of course, how do we go about doing it? Now, I'll give one story about a student of mine. When I first came to Southern, this was a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago. I'll never forget this young man, Mr. Thomas. I forget his first name, but I remember his last name because his last name is the same as my first. And throughout the year, and he was taking German with me at the time, every day he'd walk in and say, I still don't understand why they're making me do this. And I kept saying, just hang on, Thomas, it'll come to you at some point. He was there every day. He was an excellent student, but and made A's in all his courses, language courses, but insisted that this was not going to be a real value to him. So a few years go by, and I had this knock on my door, and I opened it, and I said, Thomas, and he said, you remember me? I said, you're a student I could never forget. And here we are 30 years later. And I said, so why are you on campus? He said, well, I'm working for Procter & Gamble. I said, oh, that's wonderful. And I said, what are you doing on campus today? He said, well, I'm actually recruiting recent graduates and soon to be graduates to come to work for us. I said, well, that's great. I said, well, how are things going? He said, there is a reason why I came by your office. There's something I wanted to tell you. And I said, well, what is that? And he said, I'm working in Germany. That he was an excellent student. He had 3 semesters of German, and that was noticed on his transcript. And when he went to work for Procter and Gamble, they said, how would we like that position working in one of our units overseas in Germany? So that was a real life example of how foreign language study, for someone like your dad in business, right? Other students can have a wonderful opportunity though. So how do we get everybody excited about study abroad, foreign language study, et cetera?
What about like the international? What if the international students come in and we start to hold them on just for their community? And if there's students that come in fluent in Turkish or French or Spanish, then we start to kind of like almost pair them up with someone in one of the departments. So they can have like a buddy, so to speak, or somebody. And so they learn from the buddy and they learn from them. Y'all did that for me a couple of times. And I had a roommate one time from Senegal for a while, and she would teach me all kinds of different things all the time. So I had the French continue to go for a little while. And so I think that would be one thing that we could do, because the international students are coming in and learning foreign language. They come here to do whatever it is that they do.
Right.
And so that would help build it. Another thing could be to incorporate like a project where the students, I don't know, maybe their second year taking whatever class it is, they have to do like a small presentation where they explain how they would use French or Spanish or German or Turkish in their projected careers, and making them become responsible and thinking about what they're going to do and how they're going to use it. I was impressed with my students at LSU that some of them took things like biological science, and not because they want to be a doctor, because they want to do something else. And I didn't even think about them myself using Spanish in the field that they were going in, but the way that they explained it, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I can see where you're going now. And so I think
They wanted to learn Spanish.
They wanted to
their
learn.
major in biological science.
well, they wanted to learn. For their grade, they wanted to learn, but their job wasn't to tell me why they wanted to learn. The job was to tell me how they were going to use Spanish in their career. So their major was biological science or psychology or the other one. Somebody had like archaeology or something like that. It was their job to figure out in which way in Spanish could they tell me how they're going to use Spanish in their career. And it had to make sense. It couldn't just be something that they made up. As I say, everybody's not gonna be a teacher, so I need to hear more than what we got. And so they're like, we're actually explaining things about how they want to go study in different fields, and how some places receive, they need more people doing field work, investigating different things, and that there are not enough people there to communicate with the culture that's already there speaking Spanish, and that those are some of the things they want to take out of those Spanish classes when they get, into their careers doing the things that they want to do. So this is my two cents about this.
There we go. Something that you said really struck me as being rich in potential, and that is pairing up our international students, our local students. And if I can turn to the audience, Dr. Carpenter, I know we have a lot of engagement between our international student body and our back, like a better word, local student body. Is there a way that we could require our international students to pair up with maybe our
Yes, there is a way. Initially, we did that for a while when we really got started with study abroad opportunities. But then domestically, we did, and so we left it up to the department to kind of make that happen within the department, because they're the ones who have the American students and they have the international students. And they know best to compare with who. But that is an option that we're looking at, and something that I would like to see picked back up. And because many students, just like the members of the panel have suggested, many students have said that. The other thing too is that traditionally, international students are not required to do service learning. And many of the international professors have said, we would like to see that change, particularly Dr. Kandara has suggested that too. Because how better do you learn beyond the walls of Southern University, other than out in the community? And so if an international student is paired with one of the American students, I think at one of the local schools, just as it is referred to, would be a wonderful idea. And so we have more than 250 agents that our students are assigned to anyway as a requirement. So why not work it where an international student can work with them? And so that's the other option that we're looking at.
Oh, that sounds, yeah, that sounds very fun.
Yeah,
That sounds very fun.
And the good tutoring.
I'm
So
sorry.
free tutoring is always awesome.
Free tutoring, yeah.
Free tutoring, like at certain times, certain days in a room
that would be perfect.
This is a crazy idea, to touch on how to get faculty to embrace it. Our faculty at my little school, they are all speaking and teaching every subject in every language. So what if departments started teaching, say, history in another language or math in a language versus just teaching the language as the language, but teaching like core or, foundational subjects in those languages, and then that would get other faculty maybe to behoove the importance of it, because your position could be in jeopardy because, someone who speaks another language could very well, make that an incentive to want to, know the language. I mean, and I know that's not something that you could just like snap your fingers and do, but I know like my kids, they take math in Chinese. They don't just take Chinese.
Well, that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah, like maybe one head of each, like one in every department could do that subject in a different language.
So, related to that, I think that, and both of you idea, I think that, the professors probably can use real life data from, for example, a math teacher can bring something, like we do in our Spanish courses, we have advertisements, we have newspapers, articles, from other countries, even if it's in English, but, at least they get, a glimpse of what's happening in another country, or, real data, foreign data, and bring it and just bring the cultural to the curriculum, bringing that interdisciplinary, approach to the curriculum. I know some of, in foreign language is easier, but I think that what are they doing in China? What are they doing, like in Korea or Japan or Russia, So have them, watch the news, and like for mass communication, or watch them, or have them read an article, what's happening in China with this type of topic, So it's just bring that culture to, not just, I know history is easier, right? They look at the history of everybody, bring the world to the classroom. I know that for my son, they are learning Louisiana right now. They're learning Louisiana history right now in social studies. But also having, he said that one day he will travel all over the world because he has maps all over his room because he wants to know more about the culture, but he knows more about, other countries too. He knows the flags of other countries. And so I'm starting, to give him that cultural, background. So not just the United States. And I think that our students, right, I'm so used to having just, hey, this is the United States, these are the rivers, these are the mountains. In our countries, they teach us the rivers and the mountains of all of the world. We have to know them. We have to know the capital. We have to know the president. We have to know the flag of all of the world. So I think that if we bring the culture to the curriculum, it doesn't have to be much, but just step by step, just little by little, maybe I don't know, we can plant that seed of that curiosity. Okay, maybe I want to know more about this culture. Maybe I want to learn the language. I think that's
We do in foreign language, we do try to bring a cultural component. And
Yes.
usually we adopt a country for a semester for a particular class, don't we? So that we can talk about, the culture of that particular place. I think In my classes, we're doing Canada, Cameroon, and Haiti. also. So,
I think we need to start teaching with purpose, not just the cover,
Intentionally,
what is in the objective. I mean,
Exactly.
we put stuff for the objectives, we talk about our culture is supposed to be part of teaching the language. And actually, for everyone who has done study abroad, it wasn't the language that attached them or that made them love the country, it was the culture, right? You love the culture of the people, you love how you were welcomed. I think we need to bring that more into our classroom. However way that we can find, for example, like, I would bring Turkish to last night. I'm like, hey, does anybody have nut allergy? So try to bring something cultural. I talk about what that is and how it's composed. And I try bringing cultural videos as quizzes. They watch a 3-minute video about something on the Turkish food, for example. Compare and contrast Turkish breakfast to the American one, and what do you think is the difference? And it teaches you a lot. And I tell them, look, whenever we are doing translation, think about the word. Some words in a language can only be explained in another. Why is that? Because it's part of their culture. I mean, we need to start teaching with a purpose. It's not just about you and me talking in a foreign language, it's about connecting. And connecting is done through culture. That's why it's very important that we need to get the students abroad, one way or another. Even virtual study abroad program. Cost-wise, it is effective, cost-effective. And also they can continue their regular life here on campus, but they will still be able to be exposed to different cultures. You're zooming to another country with your instructor or professor, and you're interacting with the locals. We have attended Turkish art workshops. They have taught us how to do ceramics in Turkey. Water marble, for example, was one of them. So just bring that to the classroom. Even now we can't do such. If you know that there is certain artwork that you want them to watch, those Zoom meetings from Turkey, for example. Actually, I was planning to do that in session. Schedule a workshop on certain artwork and connect with the artists from Turkey live and you are in the classroom with the students and interact with that person. So we can bring, even if we might not be able to take them to Turkey, we can bring Turkey to them, to the class. It could be through that Zoom meeting, different time zones, like 8-hour time difference, or through that baklava or Turkish delight. It's pretty good. Everybody loves it. So just bringing into our culture into the classroom. Because as whenever you're teaching that language, even though it might not be your native language, you embrace that language. So you also, as a faculty, need to bring that into the picture. Like whenever somebody is programming, what does the professor do? Shows how he programs, right? So as someone who's taking that culture, we should be bringing more of that culture into the class.
that's an excellent.
And also maybe during the International Education Week, we can think about getting the food involved because people love it. For example, there is a body of Turkish community. We can get together with them and they can provide a table of Turkish food. And you can have people from Ghana, they can do the same thing with their food. You can bring the faculty, you can bring in the students.
I just thought about it. Have we talked about to have some like Dr. Martinez and we went to some Mexican restaurant last semester. And she organized and we all got together and then we went to the like local Latino store afterwards. Anyway, so like, you know, like you did bring the culture with us, but like also to like make it more cross curricular. What about our international faculty and have them being present with students so they can see somebody that speaks the language on campus in another field to truly make it interdisciplinary with the culture.
I mean, it's possible because we know the language that we teach also have people that we can speak with them.
We can bring somebody, no, we did is, in my, former institution, we bring, professionals to give talks from other countries. So students would relate, to a doctor, or a nurse, or, but, they're coming from another culture, they're coming from other places, they graduated there, and they're working now here, so, yeah, we do that. So to talk about how the system is different there than here, so stuff like that.
I know, I actually had another program that I did when I was a student here. I did the Disney College program. And I worked at Epcot, which, they have the World Showcase. You can visit all the countries and try all the foods. And every year in the fall, they do a food and wine festival. And I know as much as people like to learn, people like to have a good time, So at the Food and Wine Festival, you've got foods from all over the world. You've got beaucoup d'avant, people enjoying themselves. And I feel like when you kind of take people out of, not necessarily a scholarly setting and put them in a more laugh setting, like you said, like a restaurant or whatnot. With the Food and Wine Festival, people are mingling and talking, and you have the internationals there, and you have the locals, for lack of a better word, and they're just being people, and they're just enjoying each other. That's actually something that we're doing at our small international school. We're going to have Capital Renaissance Food and Wine Festival, which was inspired by my time at Epcot, because I know as I walked through all the countries and tried a little wine from each country and a little, amuse-bouche from each country, I felt like I was really there. Like you said, food is so important, and food has always been a way that people have learned that they're alike. My friends from Egypt, they make something in their grape leaves that tastes just like the cabbage rolls that my grandma made, So that's a way to kind of close that gap. And I think putting a setting like that festival makes it a little more entertaining for people, and I think a little more willing to let those guards down and really connect.
You're talking related to that. We just had a Day of the Dead celebration here, and we had food, and it was supposed to have movie night as well, that we watched couples. And people stayed all the way through the movie, and they there was a lot of food, and then they kept eating, and they enjoyed the food, and that's what, So that's one way, because the Spanish Club organized it. So that's one way to have students get involved with culture within the class.
We did that. We had cocoa and we had food, and that was the same thing. Awesome.
It was really good.
Our Spanish club's got to connect.
Yeah.
That was a great success.
Yeah.
And the Spanish club, I must say, on YouTube, has really taken off. That evening, you had how many students?
Like
Attending?
47, yeah.
47 students from 7 in the evening until what, 9:30, something like that?
9:30, yeah.
And everybody stayed for food and the movie and the conversation. That means it's happening. That's it. I think
Their
that's.
parents got involved too.
Wow.
Came too.
That's how it starts.
Huh?
That's how the line starts. That's where it starts.
But that was impressive, I thought. 47 students to show up the evening. Right?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. We organized it, and when I wasn't sure. But the Spanish club doing, I did a very good job.
That's good food too.
Yeah. My mom cooked tamales.
Oh, I want to come to the next one.
Well, I think that, do we have anything else? Any other topics we need to cover?
I don't know if we have.
Anything else we'd like to add to the conversation? Yes, Dr. Kandara. Were you saying something? Oh. So, well, thank you so much for your participation in the panel. Thank the audience for being here. I want to remind you once again that it's sponsored by the Office of International Education, Barbara Carpenter. And I've jotted down a few notes, and what I'd ask of the panel is that, and the audience, any ideas that came up that really rang a bell that you think we ought to pursue in terms of internationalizing our campus. Could you please share that with me at some point? I know that I love the idea about, of course, food. That's always a great attraction. Pairing up international students, our local students, I think that's a real winner of an idea. Bringing in foreign language speakers or language speakers who are not coming into our classrooms to meet with our students
Professional, yeah.
and so forth. That always has a great impact as well. So, well, thank you so much. And with that, I think that will be done. And any, I should have asked, are there any questions from the audience? Anything that you would like to ask any of our panelists? I'm sorry.
I'm more of a statement. Pursuing, doing, partnering, doing international student with an American student is a profound
Okay.
idea, because I would have enjoyed that. I think it's an easier way than like, the things she pointed out was not so much of teaching the language, but embracing it, not so centering it around, like, because I feel like when you make it such a language thing, it makes the students not as interested. And with the day and time of people being so short, attention span, with TikTok, everything being at our access, you have to make it interesting. So I think keeping them hands on and feeling like they're actually, you know, getting to, like going to, you're not from here, you go to someone's house that's from there and actually understanding that root for real. So if you got that international parent, you get to get more of a sense of the actual culture that they come from instead of it being such a educational atmosphere around it, more of a embrace it and really like living the life.
Thank you for that contribution. And I like the way you tied in the idea of scaling up students to the national culture. And tie that in with the idea of making culture the real focus. Exciting students about wanting to learn more.
The other thing too, I love it. One of the things that we have done previously is to try to share some of the South Louisiana culture with our international students, because oftentimes international students stay within their own.
That's what I was gonna say, yeah.
They don't get out.
We stay.
Take them to a crawfish ball.
Exactly, yeah. Because we had a big crawfish on the lawn for them and they were made. So with the weekend activity, you've got all this stuff downtown with live at the side and you have a lot of things that young people go to. It would be a great opportunity to pair an international student with an American student and to sit on the side.
Now, we think of students to be museums, they weren't.
Right,
And then there's the Festival Internacional, which I'm sure you know.
yeah.
Have music groups from all over the world. I go with students on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But then someone said, oh, you know, why don't we? But I'm sure there's a way of working it out so that.
Let them go sit down on the river and listen to jazz on the weekend, like they do. I see students down there all the time. So we need to look at those options. And so as students themselves come up, they can let us know what would be a good venue that would be worthy of pairing an international student with Americans. I like you, I've had them at my home. And so we've had people, pit level of population is aging in the surrounding areas in the Southville area, but sometimes they would love to have some company.
Yeah.
You know, even to get into some of the churches.
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity for us. So we can look at those options.
I think good things are going to come out of this stuff. Any other questions, any other observations of our students? Yeah. Okay. Now, sorry, all right, sure, go. Yeah. I was very excited about
So, I want to say that, we teaching that I and the best watch, I thought we want to say that we were international and all, you'll be to. We've been always been introduced to the international audience. For the works by African artists, European artists, all of that. The whole game. It's really in because many of these artists are in foreign countries. If you are local. And go into the present.
Yeah. I suggest that, we should keep in close communication about that sort of thing, so that we're coordinating all our.
I've been talking to him for the foreign language week in March. And we can do something together
With the art program.
with the art program. So
Well,
that's how we can also get involved other instructors, with the foreign language. So. Other instructors in campus can also, we join together and do projects together.
Collaborative.
You know, we talked about that.
Yes, we did. Yes.
And also, right now, in the music deal, we have new audience, jazz musicians interacting with the students. We now have well, so you're welcome to go into your interact with music. It's right next to good music for practice.
okay. Well, thank you once again so much. And I think we've got some very good ideas that we can pursue out of this conversation.
And I think our host, you were just wonderful. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, well, we'll keep in touch. We'll keep sharing ideas. We'll keep moving forward on internationalizing our. Thank you so much.
Charles, would you come get a photo of us? I'm not do the vlogging. I gotta stay on it. Keep going. As long as you